Welcome back for weekly update, week 31. And I've titled this episode The Sunrises and Sunsets. And I'll get into why I called it that in a second, along with updates on a number of things and additions for this week. Okay, so why I called it Sunrises and Sunsets. Well, this weekend, a friend asked what I thought was going to happen in the markets in general next week. And I said sunrises, sunsets. And my point was the S&P to me, just like oil and just like a number of other things, just looks like it could go up, could go down. I have my views, but realistically, it doesn't, I don't have a strong enough opinion one way or another to make a call to put my money to work in one way or the other. So could it be taken higher from sentiment? Could it be taken lower in sentiment? Sure, either way. As for, well, so that's my view on general markets as well as oil. In terms of industrial metals, look, long term, I think a lot of the metals have had their time on the off cycle and will eventually probably have to go up. But short term, right now, I don't see things as bad enough that they need to go up from here. It, again, with the economy, in my view, weakening, not in recession yet, I don't think, not in recession. I'm not pointing that, but economy's weakening. I'm not yet buying industrial metals. And then as to gold, well, next 30 bucks, up, down, who knows? Um, I'm long-term bullish on gold. I believe that it will eventually break 1350 and eventually go significantly higher. I don't know when that is. Could be soon. Could be years. I don't know. But I am, as to the strong dollar, in terms of a potential weakening economy, maybe some type of fear as to if the bid for the US dollar will hurt gold's chances of going up in that scenario. I'm not sure I agree with that. Again, I'm not predicting anything. I'm not predicting any of those events. It does seem to me like the economy's weakening. I'm not saying we're headed directly for a crisis or anything. I'm not saying we're even necessarily having a recession. Just for now, economy's weakening. It looks to me as if the Fed is moving towards a rate cut, maybe in June, maybe later in the year. I think the economy could probably use it sooner rather than later, but I'm not in charge of the Fed. Thank goodness for that, because I don't want to be. Um, feel for those who are. And the other thing that I noticed, and I thought this was quite ironic, is that it looks like bonds are acting like Bitcoin. And this is highly ironic. And when I say this, I'm talking Bitcoin of a few years ago in terms of going higher simply because there's someone else that is going to be paying more near term. And I say that because it feels like the market looks like either panic buying bonds or uh, trying to rush into bonds before maybe the market thinks that another round of quantitative easing is coming, another round of price insensitive bond buying is coming. And if so, well, if you own bonds before that, someone will pay more. Now, is that how I would invest? No, that's not how I would do. But, a lot of people like guaranteed money. And if they see it that way, that's what I'm sure some people are doing. So, or maybe some people just really think the economy is slowing dramatically. Either way, I'm not in that right now. Which brings us to the area where I am anxiously patient, yes, try working through that oxymoron, to add, and that is uranium. Now, the sensitivity for the price of uranium is not, well, I wouldn't think should be immensely correlated to the economy. I don't see it as anything more than a effect on the equity prices. And the first, um, it, as we add Bannerman to the model portfolio um, as the first pick of the week, the data, the EIA, I think, the data that I saw this week, the inventories of the U.S. Producer, utilities, the inventory of the U.S. domestic utilities was even lower than I had anticipated. Now, does this mean that less uranium has come out of the ground? No. It just means that it is elsewhere. I don't know where. Nobody, well, very few people probably know exactly where all the uranium is. If they did, they would have a significant advantage in the market. That being said, it is not owned by U.S. utilities, meaning they will have to contract, and they will have to contract probably soon after they know what's going on with 232. Now, we knew that they would probably be contracting soon after 232, but this new information makes me even more convinced that they don't have as much discretion and as much time as they might have had. And I think that I'm leaning towards the move in uranium prices I wouldn't say having to start, but I kind of am thinking probably having to start this year. Now, if it doesn't, I'm fine with that too, but I'm leaning towards believing that probably this year might not be right after 232 because they probably have to figure out what's going on, but that's my thought. And yep, pick one, Bannerman, and I'll get more into that more stuff in a sec. So there was a significant move in some uranium equities on Friday, and over the weekend there has also been a notable move in some Australian equities, or rather, as at the open of Monday's trading in Australia, there's been a nice little move. There was a favorable article that came out over the weekend talking about uranium equities in Australia. My guess is the readership of that might be the reasoning for the move in some of these smaller names, which, if you're a contrarian, might agitate you a little bit, but in terms of the bigger picture, it doesn't really matter much in terms of the bullish thesis on uranium. So I was just going to say that I don't think that the move had much to do with 232. I don't know if it had anything to do with the mill, the mill being McLean Lake Mill agreement questions. I haven't heard anything about that, so that's probably worth watching. And the pick is Laramide, mainly because I don't want to start bringing in too many more things. Laramide does have some stuff in the US, some stuff in Australia, and I'm fine with that pick going forward. But so that's pick 2 for the week. Now the third pick for today is going to be Goviex. And the one thing I want to say, and this is not to do with Goviex, I've mentioned in the past that I own it, is just in terms of names in the portfolio that we have. Now I keep a list near my desk of all of the uranium equities. And I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the names in the portfolio versus the options. Now, I've mentioned in the past that many of the names that are in our model portfolio here I own, but not all of them. Now, I do want to say that I own more things than are in the portfolio, but that's not the point of what I'm saying here. The point of what I'm saying is when I look at the list, and if you're looking for something specific, if you're looking for something maybe big that will be ready in X amount of time, there's really just not much. And so I would really think that if you have a thesis and you're looking at the list, you probably could, there's, there's, there's really not too many options. So, I mean, you could really look through everything and narrow it down to what you're looking for. And the reason I'm mentioning this in conjunction with this video is I don't want to talk about everything in this portfolio. So just because a name isn't in here or is, doesn't mean that I think it's great or terrible. So I just suggest whatever you are looking for yourself in your uranium or in whatever, have a look through the names and see if how they match up to what you're thinking and what you want. And don't just listen to anyone else because they have their own thesis and it might not fit with yours. And so with that, I'm going to leave the picks and get into the recap. So as we look through the recap and the update of what the portfolio currently looks like, I realized that I didn't mention one thing that I really wanted to mention this week, and that is with stocks, with markets, you don't have to pick a buy or sell on things. You don't have to have a position either long or short or bullish or bearish on any given thing. You can pick where you want to put your money. And if you don't need or want to buy something or sell something at a certain time, you don't have to. You can wait to see what the market tells you and what happens outside of markets or economies or whatever. So just remember, the sun will rise, the sun will set. There's going to be another opportunity. But in the meantime, see what you have, see what you can do, and see if there's something you wanted to do with that. As always, everyone, please do your own research before making any investment decisions. This channel shall not be liable for any losses incurred from investment decisions made as a result of information obtained on this channel. Good luck with your investments. I'll catch you next time.